Can you tell us the name of the first album and the first big hit?
Yeah, so the name, it was quite easy because it was the same name. We call the album Deep Forest and the band Deep Forest, so it was easy to remember. And the big hit we had at that time was called Sweet Lullaby, and it was
Good.
literally it was a worldwide hit single. We very quickly we sold a couple of millions very quickly, and it still continued to sell regularly.
And were you shocked, you and Michelle? Were you shocked when it went, or you knew you were onto something interesting?
It's an interesting question because I remember my feeling when we were working on it. My feeling was it's special. It's something very interesting. I was not sure it could be a success because you never know
Right.
that. But my feeling was, okay, I like it. I like it very much. And this is quite unusual. Then when it came to the public and when I saw how people react to it, I was not really surprised because, okay, so I was right.
Yeah.
But
Very
you
nice.
cannot say it before because you never know before. It's only after that,
But the process there, how was that? Can you talk about the process of that? You would just record samples and then structure it into a song?
Yeah, I think
Melody?
the main tools to we use at that time, I mean, I'm talking about the 80s, 90s, was the sampler. The sampler was a new technology. It
Right.
came with a big machine like Fairlight or Synclavier or all these PPG, very expensive machine at that time. But one day we had the chance to have a more cheaper machine from Akai, and I remember I bought a Akai sampler called S 9000, something like that,
Right.
900, and it was very easy to sample sounds and to
Mhm.
manipulate it. To manipulate it. So
Would
that's
you take
how.
that to the field?
Sorry.
Would you take that Akai sampler into the field?
Not really into the field because it was a quite big machine.
Rocky
You cannot
Mountain,
move it,
right?
but you could. What it was interesting is that you could put some radio on it and or play some CD, and from this CD you can extract some sounds. So our main
But what did
source.
you record on in the field? Was it like a little disc, mini disc, or
Yeah,
something?
I had a small D80 portable
Right, of course.
recorder with a stereo mic,
Okay.
and then after you sample it in the synthesizer.
And then you take it back and try and
Yeah,
hear some music behind these
yeah.
patterns.
And when you mix some samples that you can manipulate, that you can edit, you can change the order of the phrase, create new melody, and then you put it in the synthesizer environment with some drum loops. Basically, you
Right.
do the deep forest sounds.
And what was the? I mean, I think I was in New York editing mostly. I've been mostly a film editor, and I was, of course, it was huge everywhere. I'm trying to think. Was the Buddha Bar a big part of? I think that was from France, wasn't it? Initially, Buddha Bar.
Buddha Bar, yeah,
Was that?
Claude Chal,
uh,
yeah.
Do you know? Can you talk about that? I mean, presumably they loved your music.
I think they did. I mean, Claude Chal, which is the guy who did the music from Buddha Bar. I think he was in the same mood as we did, and yeah, and I think he was more in the lounge, more I will say easily listening lounge music using the same ingredients. Deep
But
Forest was a bit more complicated. We wanted to
okay,
be a bit more, I will not say sophisticated, but a bit more musical work in terms of shape. And what the success of Buddha Bar was because you have the same flavor, but the music was much more easy to listen in a lounge or in a bar.
I mean, I thought a lot of their mixing and stuff. That whole culture was really good. From any of your travels, the most strange anecdote or story about wow.
Oh, the most strange anecdote was in Belize. In Belize, I was invited by a friend because he said, "Oh, you should go to Belize because I know some people from people living there, and they have a very strong culture, beautiful chants, and they are doing a voodoo ceremony. You should go
Wow.
to the voodoo ceremony. So I say, okay, let's go there. And it was very special, very special time. And I was recording. First, I was accepted by these people, which is not so easy to
Hmm.
do because when you arrive, with your mic, and it's quite intimate
Mm.
ceremony. So you're a stranger. So
Mm.
people have to accept. And as I was with this guy, this who was the link between each other, it was quite an easy process. And then I spent, I don't know, a couple of hours with some people dancing in trance around me, with the percussion, the drums, the chants. It was very, very special. So
Okay,
yeah,
but there was no time you felt I don't know. I suppose they cut the chicken heads and people were
yeah,
jumping
this kind of
around,
thing,
and you
yeah,
were
with
like,
the blood of the chicken, yeah, this kind of things. But
okay.
when you are in the mood with them, it's fascinating,
It was a positive spirit feeling, like rock
Yeah,
and
yeah,
roll or
for me,
something.
yeah, I
No,
was not afraid. It was interesting.
if you get very esoteric, a lot of people do say these spirits, like leg bar or whatever,
Hmm.
these different voodoo spirits. Was something that was in us that the Africans realized, and it only
Hmm.
came out with rock and roll or new music or dance music or different things.
The thing is, I think when you play music, especially live, you can generate some energy for sure. And
Yeah.
so the energy you generate depending of the style of the music. But if when Hendrix was playing with his guitar, electric guitar with saturation, or when you are in a rave party with the rhythm, which is quite hypnotic,
Mhm.
all these are energy generated by the music. So you put your mind in resonance with the music, and you can have
Mm.
this ecstatic state.
Right.
It's how people go to the trance. Uh, of course, in the
And
tribal environment, they have also some substance they can use to talk to the spirit. But basically, the
do
music
they?
have the ability to put people in the mood for that.
But they were doing that too
Yeah,
in the voodoo ceremony. Is that right?
yeah.
They were taking substance as well.
Yeah, sure, of course.
Okay. So it's a very interesting thing. So and then maybe the electronic, because I always say for me, even though I grew up with some of these rock and rollers, the Stones, Hendrix, blah blah blah, the real our revolution, or maybe you too, is our 60s or whatever was the late 90s or the electronic.
It's used different type of
But
atmosphere.
how did you get into electronic music? Was
You know,
my
I, I'm,
question.
I know very well electronic music because I started to play synthesizer when I was 16. So I was really at the beginning, not at the beginning, but in the early age of the vintage synthesizer in the 70s, and
Right. And
I
you
really
were
like it.
influenced. Sorry, go
Yeah,
on.
yeah.
You were influenced by. I think your half the name is. I think you like some British rock or Deep Purple or Deep.
Yeah, sure. Yeah,
Was that true?
yeah, when I was 14, the first vinyl I bought it was Deep Purple, Deep Purple in what's the name? Child in Time, Deep Purple in rock. Yes, with the figure, with the face of the singer and the musician in the rock.
Okay. And so, but what time? So, how did you get into electronics? So, you bought a synthesizer, or you just started playing with it, and it was like, I feel that. How was it?
I started first to play some organ, electric organ, because it was the most not expensive, so I can afford one. And
Mhm.
one day, in the music shop in my city in the north of France, they got a Moog synthesizer, and
Ah,
I was in front of the Moog synthesizer for the first half of my life, and I knew it because I was listening to people like Rick Wakeman, Keith Emerson, all
okay.
these legendary keyboard player
Wow.
from Brittany, and so I was in front of this magic instrument, and I started I wanted to understand how it works, and
Right.
it
What are
started
you
like that.
working on now, Eric? Can you tell me?
Yeah, actually, I'm working on some music, some scoring for a permanent show that will happen. Well, that will open in by the end of this year. One show will be in Vietnam, close to Along Bay, North Vietnam, and another one that should be also opening by the end of this year in Singapore.
And when you say shows, I think you mentioned there maybe digital or light and sound or
Yes, it's a quite a special project and concept because it's like entertainment in the city where people can walk in the city following a specific path where there is some audio point of interest, and at specific location they have like 10 15-minute show. It could be inside, so inside it could be like with projection lighting, sometime performer, and some other part are outside with probably more mapping. It's very specific to every city, and we
wow.
started to work on Ho Chi Minh, Along Bay, and Singapore, and we are developing now this concept to other countries. So that's my main project for this year.
And you sent me some of that, so we'll play some of that underneath. It sounds so interesting. Have you? I think I'm trying to think of. It's sort of more than film, um, but it sounds really interesting. Sort of with the civic community, and then just highlighting certain points with using GPS, presumably, and like you say,
Mhm.
opening up performances. And that sounds really good. Are you enjoying this project?
Yeah, yeah, it's very nice, and I'm. It's quite interesting for me too because I'm developing a kind of a um, mix between my usual electronic music that I do for a long time and some orchestral symphonic uh, performance as well. Because it's like making music for a movie. You need to use sometime the old good symphonic orchestra because this is still the biggest the most easy way to generate emotion.
So it's almost it's almost I don't know how you say it, but after some time, we respond to certain sounds, and the symphony is still driving a lot of our.
Yeah, when you have a melody played by the strings, and then you have the horns and the brass coming, it's very easy to generate some emotion. Much
Great.
more easy than with electronic equipment. Electronic equipment has different advantages for rhythm, for sound design, for different things. But uh, in terms of pure emotion on the spot, when you want to generate an emotion on a special moment in the story, the classical orchestra is still, in my opinion, the most efficient.
Tell me about this. Was it Rock and Cook or Deep Dish, or you have a project with Gerard?
Yeah,
Is
with
that going in?
Gérard.
Tell me what you did, or tell us the concept, how you tested it.
It's a funny idea because while I'm living in the south of France right now, uh, every summer I had the idea to make every summer by the August, mid August, to make a big evening at my place, and I play music for my friends. It's like a private concert, and I did that many years. And every year I try to find another way to make something interesting. And that year I met Gérard, which is a chef cuisinier, a very good cooker. And we had the idea together to say, okay, why not making a concert with food? And Gérard said, okay, let's do that. So we select a couple of my music, couple of track and my music, and we decided to make a journey around the world. So going to Eastern Europe, to Asia, to Africa, and back to Mexico, and back to Europe. And Gérard said, okay, I will cook while you play, and people will have a little shot of something, a cocktail, and a little thing to hit at the same time for every track you play. I say, okay, let's do that. So we set up a small kitchen, in my garden, my musical equipment close to him, and we invite all our friends for free. And we start at summer, when the sun set. It was a warm evening, warm summer evening, and we play for like 2 hours for our friends. And Louis, Gérard's wife, was with my wife. They were doing the service to provide to the
Wow.
guests the beverage and the food and the drinks. It was
One of
very
a
nice,
kind
very nice.
thing. And one of a kind thing, but quite hard to replicate, probably.
Yeah, it was an happening, It's like a
Right.
performance.
Fantastic.
So we could replicate it, but
Gerard says you're too expensive.
yeah, it was very fun to make it once, and everybody keep a very nice
Right.
memories of it because it was quite unique. So
It
maybe we can do
worked.
it maybe in the future, maybe in 2-3 years, because why not? But this
Right.
is not something you can do every week for sure.
No, because it's very personal and very custom.
Yeah.
And also a lot of production of the food to do
sure.
for many people, but quite beautiful. What is Kusa no Ran?
Kusa no Ran is a Japanese movie. And it was.
Do you like working on soundtracks? Have you worked on other ones, or?
Yeah. I did a different soundtrack, of course, and I like it. I would like to do more sometimes because it's already interesting to collaborate with people. You know what I like in the music is not playing music; it's collaboration. Playing music alone, it's okay, that's fine, but it's much more interesting when you can develop your art with other people. So that's why I continue to go on stage and to play with musicians. And when you work on a movie, I like the way you can dialogue with the filmmaker and how you can make your music support an idea or story or character. It's very interesting. The thing is, it's more and more difficult now to have what I would say decent budget to work on movie because the big movie are it changed a bit now because now you have the Netflix and all these big series, so there is a new market for it. But but anyway, I would like to do more for sure.
Okay, and Kusa no Ran, was that a Kurosawa film or anything interesting, or what was it?
It was the story was about some I will say pre-revolutionary people in the Japan in Japan before the Japan become modern area.
Okay, can you talk a bit about? Is it Michael or Michel?
Michel.
Okay, why did you guys split out?
Why we split out? Right? That's your question.
Why did you? Was it? I mean, I don't want to make you uncomfortable. We're just curious. Like the Stranglers now doesn't have the same.
Michel and I, we
singer,
knew
but it's
each other for a long time in the northern France because we were together keyboard player, and at that time we did a lot of recording session at the same places. There is not so many recording studio in Lille in France, in the north of France, in Lille. So we had a lot of opportunity to cross and to meet each other at that time. And one day we had the idea to make a collaboration. And this collaboration was the beginning of Deep Forest. We did maybe, I think, 4 or 5 albums together. And we get a big success with Deep Forest. So it was like a 12 or 13 years collaboration. Wow. And at what point, like I think it's very common for every kind of music group, after 10 or 12 or all this year, you still to have you start to have different view on the music, different view on your lifestyle. You want to move to another place, you want to meet different people. And we decided, I think it was in 2004, I think, we decided to split, and Michel wanted to develop his own career, and I decided to continue Deep Forest on my own and to produce other people.
And produce other people. And was it, like the Stones Brian wanted to do blues. I mean, did one of you want to do soundtrack, and one of you wanted to do a different type of electronic music?
I think it was more about how we feel the music.
Okay.
I wanted to do some more electronic, I will say, dance music at that time.
Okay.
I was very interested by all these club things, the way they produce the sound. Not because I wanted to become a DJ, but I like the way they produce the song. They use the compression, the side compression. I
Yeah.
wanted to
Yeah.
explore this, and
Good.
Michel has different view on it. So it was difficult to at the end, it was difficult to find the right balance between each other. So we decided simply to do, okay, do your things, I do my things, and that's fine.
Good. And just going back now to, France has this interesting history with music concrete, and I think Pierre Henry, and there was
Yeah.
another Pierre. They had a similar thing. I think Pierre Henry was like, I want to pursue this rock and roll.
Mm-hmm.
Not the same as you two, but you know what I mean? Two people.
Yeah.
And the other one was like, I'm a scientist. I'm recording things, an anthropologist or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Did that influence you, these guys, Music Concrete, and,
Not really the
anthropology?
music concrete. No, I was more influenced by the. If you are talking about the classical music, I'm much more influenced by people from like Stravinsky or Debussy or Ravel. All this kind of modern composer, but pre concrete music.
Okay.
Yeah.
But they were sort of electronic. They'd have different turntables set up, and
Yeah.
very
I
extraordinary.
understand
Okay.
what
All right.
they are looking for at that time, because the music was there was different direction in the music, and if you talk about harmony, melody, I think these people like Debussy or Stravinsky put the trigger very high, and it was almost difficult to go over there. And
But
on the other direction, you with the new technology from the tape, from the transistor, new sound was possible to create with electronic equipment. So I understand very well how
right.
some musicians decided to explore this way.
But
But yeah,
sorry.
sorry.
That's okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, and I think they did a lot of research, and like Pioneer, and basically what we use now in the studio with the computer, with the facility we have to edit sound, to manipulate sound, because now it's not on tape anymore, but it's on a digital memory. They were the pioneer of this. Now we are lucky because we can manipulate sound so easily, and we can go beyond what they created. If you, I watch a lot of documentary about these people working in the studio, and they spend hours to cut tape, to glue tape, to make some soundscape, and now we can do that so easily. So I think it was
One
it
more
was a
question.
special period, but
Yeah, I mean,
not
it's a
so
sort of
musical in my opinion.
like photography when it first happened. It was
Yeah,
just, I'm
exactly.
recording this, and then we develop it into an art somehow.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
I think you worked with Peter Gabriel. Is that correct?
Yeah, I did.
Have you played Wormad and stuff like
No,
that?
I didn't play Womad. I didn't play with. I didn't play live with Peter. We did some recording studio together.
Okay.
But when I play now, it's usually electro festival in the summertime. There is a lot.
Right.
Last September, I was in China to make a tour. I was in this city, Wuhan. I play there, where they are now the big disease. I play in
Wow.
Singapore, not in Singapore, in sorry, I forgot the name. Anyway, I did
Asia.
a little tour in China in September, October,
And what's
yeah.
coming up with your touring? Any festivals for next year? Or
Sorry for the
are
future.
you playing? Yeah. What are you?
Is there now? We are doing the booking now, so I think I have already something in Hungary this summer, and some people. So I was in touch with people in Australia, but I think they need to fix first their problem with the fire and everything before
Yeah,
we
yeah, yeah.
continue to
Of
talk.
course.
But yeah, there is always some some people who, and probably I will do another tour in China by the end of this year as well.
What about favorite producers? I think you started with Telex. Did the guy from Telex,
Yeah,
produce your first album?
and I don't have a good experience with it.
Tell me about your favorite producers.
No.
Either ones
No.
you have in the. Did you like Trevor Horn, Sam
Of
West, or
course,
these?
I always say Trevor is my favorite producer. You know, he did some. I really love his style of music, and he did so many beautiful records. You know, of course. And in the in the if we go more in the movie score, of course, Hans Zimmer. I love Hans.
So, okay, any other producers you love right now?
Let me think. Who? There is one guy, Eugene. I don't know. I don't remember his name. Eugene in Ukraine, which is a very talented producer. I don't. I forget his last name. It's Eugene something.
Okay,
I heard a couple of production for him. It's very nice.
okay.
There
And
is so
did
many good
you?
people. Oh, I love. You know, one of my favorite musicians right now. There are two. There is a Jacob Collier, which is a English guy.
Jack, who?
Jacob
Uh-huh.
Collier, Colleer,
Okay,
and a
Jacob
very young
Collier.
guy
Okay,
from. I think I'm sure it's a British guy, and
okay.
he is an amazing producer, amazing vocalist, amazing keyboard player. He play every kind of instrument, and
I'm always looking for that.
check it,
Okay,
and especially if you can check his live show, it's just amazing.
okay,
And
okay. I will make a
one of
note.
the greatest keyboard player right now for me, it's a guy
Hmm.
called Corey Henry.
Hmm.
Corey Henry from USA.
Okay.
Organ player. He plays synthesizer. He plays organ, but he's
Uh-huh.
probably one of the most interesting keyboard player right now.
Wow.
And I really love also a band called Snarky Puppy from
Snarky
USA.
Puppy.
Yeah,
Lovely.
they are
Funny
great,
name.
great, great. And the bass player is a producer and the main composer of this band.
Huh. Okay.
They are new generation of musicians.
Hmm.
Louis Cole, of course, if you know, do you know Nowhere? Knower.
No.
It's a duet with Louis Cole and
Okay.
Geneviève Attardi, singer.
Okay.
They are doing,
Oh, I may have seen on YouTube
yeah, they
Jules.
are great as
On
well.
Jules'
Yeah.
thing, right? Fantastic. Well, look, it's so cool to talk to you. I know there's other things, like you worked with Yusu and Dor. How was
Yeah.
that? Was that cool? Was that
Yeah, of course.
interesting?
Yeah, yeah. Used
Yeah,
to is a very nice guy.
serious music. Yeah, okay. One other thing. What is your live act? Do you have any visuals to that too, or?
Yeah, it depends of the show.
Hmm.
When I go to festival, sorry. I mean, last year we did a show in a venue, and we have English visual VJ who came to make some beautiful sound, not sound, light design and projection.
And he mixes live visuals to your
Yeah,
music.
it was interesting because he put some camera on stage on my
Hmm.
keyboard on different musician, and he was doing not something in live. He was interacting with the music in live, so it was
Hmm.
quite interesting. And we decided to play that night. We played 3 hours, and it was like a dance floor, more oriented. You know, it was like dance, not so atmospheric.
Right,
But
right.
and so this is one kind of event I can
What
do.
was
And
that event? What was
few
that?
months ago, I think it was in December, I played in Switzerland in a
Ah,
concert hall, classical orchestral, and this was purely musical. I was just playing music with my with a bass player all together, to get only two of us on stage, and this
mhm,
was only musical, very much more atmospheric music and piano and things. So
mhm.
I like both. I like to be in a and on the make people dancing, and I like to make people listening the music. So I like both.
Different things, right? Being the master and also it's kind of rock and roll making people dance, but it's not
Yeah,
electronic. Do you know
sure.
what I mean?
Mm.
Well, look, such a pleasure. Such a pleasure.
Yeah, my
I
pleasure
will
too.
send you links. Have a lovely day.
Okay, you too.